Welcome back, everybody. It is November 1st of 2023, and this is episode 59 of What Is On My Desk. So today's update is going to be a little bit shorter than the other ones. There isn't a whole lot. I don't have any swag or anything from air shows to show you. I do have some new products. There'll be a new kit that I bought, as well as 2 new sets of decals. Let's take a look at those. And then there's the current condition of those 4 kits, where I am on the build process. Apologies in advance for the voice. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold at the moment. So it's, it's Canada. It's the first day of snow. It's the perfect time to have a cold. So anyways, we'll swing over here in a second. We'll take a look at, as I said, new kit, new decals, the status of the 4 builds. But before we jump over there, I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who is watching this channel. If you haven't yet, down below, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The like will tell YouTube that you like the video and push these to other people who would also like the video, as well as just help get this video out to everyone else. And subscribing and the notification bell will allow you to know when I release new videos, which I tend to do about 4 times a month, give or take. As well as a quick note, I might have mentioned it before in a previous video, but we hit 1,000 subscribers, and I want to thank all of you out there for that. It is unbelievable that I made it that far. This is something I do in my free time, and I do it for fun. Never expected to hit 1,000 subscribers. Never thought I would ever have merch, which I have merch, by the way. As soon as I hit the watch hour requirement, I'll have that linked in the description. I'll have some t-shirts I have designed. Will be going up as well. Some air show specific t-shirts and stuff like that. So you guys can you can wear some Sean's Aviation themed shirts at your next air show visit. As well, the stickers, I'll have some more designs coming out in the future. I'll announce those when I have them. I honestly recommend, considering the cost of these on things like Redbubble and Teespring, if you want a sticker, just reach out to me. You can message down below. You can email me. You can go over to my website, seansaviation.com. Links are all down below. You can jump over there, email me there, Facebook, whatever you want. It's a lot cheaper. I get these things at pennies on the dollar by ordering them myself. So if you guys want any stickers, by all means, reach out. I'll have some package deals set up as well. So don't hesitate to do that if you are interested in those. But yeah, again, thank you, everybody. Thank you. You have no idea how amazing it is that the channel has grown the way it is. But on that note, let's get swung over to the desk. We'll take a look at the status of everything. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. Just a quick look at what is honestly an absolute and complete impulse buy on my part. Swung by Hobby Center. They have opened up a new location. Completely unsponsored plug, by the way, for Hobby Center. If you're ever in the Ottawa area and you're looking for a hobby shop, please swing by. Bill and the team are awesome to deal with. I've been shopping with them since I was, 5, 6 years old. I think it's the first hobby shop I ever went to was the Hobby Center. Anyways, they moved to a new location, absolutely amazing space. And I felt like I needed to, I went there to buy paint. They didn't have the paint I needed. So I complete impulse buy to support the shop. First of all, I bought a sanding stick. If you've noticed, I have started to use one of these sponge style sanding sticks. This is a 600 grit. I bought one of theirs. It has a multitude of different grits on it. I don't actually know what they are. I'm assuming that's a 600. Those feel the same, but there's probably an 800 to 600. There's probably a 400 to 200 and like a 120, because this is like crazy. So I don't think I'll ever use this side. These 2 sides what I'll use to do most of the sanding. But either way, I picked it up. It's branded the Hobby Center and hobson.com. Again, completely unsponsored. I'm in no way being paid by them to say anything. They're just an amazing hobby shop, and I've known Bill for many years and do what I can to help support him. So as I said, I felt like I had to, break in the new shop, so to speak. So I had a complete and utter impulse buy off of his used shelf. It was $25. I picked up a AD4W Skyraider. Yeah, that's about all. It's the really, really interesting thing is it's got the, this is just completely going, you know, down a rabbit hole here, but it's officially licensed product by Boeing because Douglas became McDonnell Douglas, which became Boeing, so they own the rights to the Skyraider design. And I understand Skyraider being trademarked, but the interesting thing is if you read in the instructions, produced under license from Boeing, ADW, Skyraider, and Boeing are among the trademarks owned by Boeing. So Boeing is claiming, now I don't know, I'm far from a legal expert, but they're claiming the trademarks for AD4W. AD4W was the US Navy's designation for the aircraft, not Boeing's. So I'd be very suspect that trademark, this, you know, I can understand. Sure. This AD4W, that was the designation assigned by the US Navy. And I would be very suspect that that could be challenged in court. That I could call anything I wanted in AD4W and Boeing would have nothing to say about it other than being able to spend way more money than I could on legal fees. But I have a feeling at the end of the day, that trademark won't hold up because that wasn't a Douglas or McDonnell Douglas or Boeing designation. That was the Navy designation, which would be public and should be fair use, in my opinion. Anyways, picked up an AD4W Skyraider. It's one of those kits I've kind of looked at a bunch and always thought of getting. I've got two other Skyraiders on the shelf over there already. I've got the single seat Tamiya A1J, and then I've got the 4-seat 80. Well, it's the 4-seater. It's in the Air Force version, but it's the 4-seat AH-1H, I want to say. Anyway, it's the 4-seat version with the big fat wide cockpit, and I have that over there as well. But I've always liked these guppy versions. I really wish they would build a version of the Avenger in this scheme, as the Royal Canadian Navy flew a few, and I really want to add that to my collection of RCAN aircraft, but very hard to find in 148th. Now, I meant to do the research before I started this review, but I am very sure that this kit is the old Esky kit. And I want to see if I can find any type of copyright mention on here anywhere as I'm looking through this, but I'm not. Here's a spot where it would have had something written on it, and you can see where it was ground away. So see, that's just that. I'm very sure that this is an old Esky mold, and I'm going to take the time right now to look it up while I am doing this video. Italeri AD-4W. Again, not sponsored in any way, but if you are looking for any kind of history on your kit you're building, is it a new tool, old tool, who made the original molds, all that fun stuff, by all means, I am a huge fan of scalemates.com. Open source database for this kind of stuff. So take a look over there if you really want to know the history of your kit. And I can tell you it is originally, what does that say? Revell Esky. Yep, it was originally an Esky mold, was then re-released by Esky Ertl, then by Esky, then by AMT, and then eventually starting in 2003 by Italeri. Probably right around the time that Italeri would have bought the AMT molds when AMT folded, because a lot of those aircraft that AMT used to pop out, the P-40s, the Douglas Bostons and all that stuff's all available under the Italeri line now. So this is an old Esky kit that has been reboxed. The original molds for this were, you know what, I'm wrong, hold on, this chart goes even farther back. Yeah, no, it's Esky. 1979 is the original mold for this, and it is Esky. So it's an older kit. It's not going to be perfect, and you can see that. I'll zoom in here in a second so you can get a good look at it. But it's got the kind of square sprues, which is a lot of wasted plastic
If you compare to a newer Tamiya sprue, you can see how much smaller the sprues are and how much less plastic gets used. So that affects price. It's raised panel lines. There are some recessed and some raised. It's a little bit of each. Detail's not horrible. But yeah, it's got the raised panel lines on it. You can also tell it's a one of those kind of kits that have multiple versions, because from this, depending on what insert you put in, you can make a standard single seat A1. Not horrible in the cockpit. You got some seat detail. Looking at the instructions, it looks like a lump of potato plastic, but looking at the actual kit, it's not horrible. The engines have, I'll zoom in here a bit so you can see, the engines have some decent detail on the engines. You can see some of the fins and stuff like that. Like I said, the cockpit floor has a little bit of detailing in it. The seat has some molded on seat belts, some decent detail in the propeller hubs. I'm not a fan of the raised panel lines, but you can't win every single battle. The tail wheels got some decent detailing going on in there. Same with go back to the wings. You know, the landing gears have some decent molding on them. The details up inside the wheel wells, it's got a little bit of so it'll look like it's got some stuff going on in there. So not absolutely horrible, but it's not great. And then this is the specific AD4W bits. It's got your radar, your fuel tanks, pylons. This is the inserts that go into the sides. I believe those are for the wheels. There's the extra bits. It's also got the leading edge slats, which look like they just scab onto the front of them instead of being separate piece. So yeah, there was definitely some modifications that were made to this airframe as time went on, and you can see that in the plastic, how they made it work. And then you've got your clear bits, which have the standard canopy as well as the current version to fit the spine. And then you've also got, I'm assuming these are the windows for inside the fuselage. So you can see how it was always designed to have multiple versions, which is a nice touch. So considering it was 1979, that Esky thought ahead of like, hey, what other versions can we make from this one kit, and let's incorporate the ability to do that. So that's always nice to see from some of these manufacturers, especially older manufacturers. I'm already seeing a few things though that kind of make me question some things. So take a look at the instructions, and I can quickly compare against some of the plastic to take a look at that. So typical Italia instructions. I'm assuming this is a standard European paper size or international paper size. Doesn't fit with the American paper size that I am used to. It's also really annoying because it's just too long for my scanner. So when I do my reviews and put these pictures up on the website, it takes a little bit to get that set up properly. Bit of history, multiple languages, all that fun stuff. You get right into it. It's really one giant piece of paper when all is said and done. You got your parts breakdown. It also shows you a few of the pieces that you don't use, including the standard canopy and the gun sight and all that kind of stuff. And then you go straight into building cockpit. They provide decals, which we'll see in a bit, for the instrument panels. I'm assuming the instrument panels and the canopy are just flat. Yeah, they're just flat. There's no detailing here at all, so you can't really dry brush anything. Your only option is using the decals or going with an aftermarket cockpit if you'd like to have any kind of detail in it. Next is your fuselage assembly, including the cowl flaps, exhaust stacks, your inserts in the rear fuselage, including the clear piece. A little annoying because you got to paint black kind of behind the clear piece, which is a good point to remind you, is you would want to paint some black back in the opening. So you look through the window and the door, you don't see gray plastic. It looks like there's depth to it. So that's got to be done. And some antennas that need to be removed for this particular version. Step 3, we assemble the wings, including those wheeled inserts and the slats. Again, I'm assuming other versions have different style landing gear bays, hence the different inserts. Step 4 is engine. getting that installed, the wings installed, some of the antennas, and putting on that rear kind of turtle deck or doghouse. 5, landing gears. 6, you're installing a lot of little details going on in here. Landing gears, doors, landing lights, flap housings. I'm going to sneeze at some point while I'm doing this. Tail wheel, arrestor hook. Okay, here's the sneeze. You're getting a lot of these bottom pieces done. Again, take a look through these instructions and figure out what build order works for you. I know there's a lot of this stuff I will be putting on until after paint, not at this point. Step 7, you're doing drop tanks, your big guppy radar, and then you're installing that. You've got a couple of little antennas here under the steps, I should say, for climbing up in the wing. And then it's just confusing. That arrow looks like it goes here, but it goes in the side, and the drop tank arrow goes into the wing. Do we have to drill holes in the wings? No, looks like all the holes, yeah, all the holes are pre-drilled for your drop tanks. So you don't really have a choice. If you want to not put drop tanks or hard points, you're going to have to fill those. But you're installing all of that and the canopy here at the very bottom. And then we go into decals. I'll show you the decals in a second and the schemes that are included. The curious thing that made me question something was, if you look at the instructions for the drop tanks, you've got your 2 half of your drop tanks, your hard point, and then it shows 3 sets of sway braces, and all 3 sets are parts 40C. And if you look on the actual kit, you only get 4. Wait, that's part 44. Okay, I take back what I just said. Where are... Okay, so there's some significant issues with some of this stuff, because we're seeing 49 and 50D here. Turtle deck is 51D. Huh. Interesting. 2 halves of the parts are 38 and 37, but they're not actually labeled on here. The leading edge slats are 39 and 40, and they're labeled appropriately. And then all your antennas are labeled appropriately. Your tail bits are 48, which are labeled appropriately. Your underwing hard points are 45, but they're not numbered on the instructions. Huh. Side pieces 52 and 53. So the sway braces are labeled as 40C, but we don't have a C sprue. If you look at the sprue layout, there's A, B, and D. So yeah, there are 44 on this and 40 on the instructions. So I will be doing a full kit review on this when I get around to it, and I will be mentioning that in the kit review as well. Just to be careful when you're doing that, because the parts aren't exactly accurate. It was one of the things that just stuck out at me. I noticed we only had, see, even the parts here, it shows 4 of the 44D, and in the instructions it shows something completely different. Anyways, marking schemes. We get 4 different marking schemes, 2 from the FAA, the Royal Navy, and 2 from the United States. 1 Navy, 1 Marine, but they're both effectively Navy. So we'll start with the English versions. They're both from 849 Naval Air Squadron, which is the only unit that the British flew these with. I think they only had about 16 or 18 of them. Depending on, it's all from the same unit. They're all painted the flat, non-specular intermediate blue, which is the same color that the U.S. Navy, which is also U.S. Navy sea blue is very similar to the color. So you can get that from a variety of different manufacturers. Paint codes only give you an Italary paint code. It's an FS number as well, so you can at least convert SF numbers or FS numbers to whatever your local paint brand is that you use, or they give you the Italary paint codes. So glossy blue or flat non-specular intermediate blue, they're all effectively the same color, but it's that U.S. Navy blue. Just depends on whether it was glossy or flat. So the particular one here is aircraft WT959 numbered 415. There's also a J and an A on it. This is part of, it was on HMS Albion during 1956 during the Suez Canal crisis. Suez Canal crisis. So it's got the black and yellow stripes on it. Probably going to be the scheme I do, just because I like the color scheme on that. And eventually I'd like to do a couple of different Suez crisis aircraft with the stripes, but I'll get to that later. So that's, it would actually be really cool to have a Sea Fury done up in the same colors. I know the British flew Sea Furies there too. So anyways, that's that. Probably, I don't know when I'm gonna actually get around to building this, but this is probably the scheme that I will do. Next up is another one from the Fleet Air Arm or the Royal Navy. This is WV-183. Aircraft is numbered 419, also from 849 Naval Air Squadron. It has an R on the tail and some sort of like a flying bumblebee thingy with a tail hook on the cowling. Again, a pretty cool scheme, but I'm going to go with the stripes. So this one was an Ark Royal, HMS Ark Royal in 1958. And it's, again, standard RAF roundels. I'll share the decals in a minute. All the other markings are basically in white. And then we look at the two different U.S. military options that come in it. First one over here is aircraft 125779, I believe. From VC-12 on the USS Coral Sea in 1950. And again, you've got your standard American roundels. Probably, I don't know if it's got the red in them or not, or if they're all, yeah, it does have the red. So they're white outlines with the red bars. And then it's just the white and red, everything. The blue is from the paint. There's no blue section. You'll see everything else is basically in white. Overall blue again. 703 on the nose and NE on the tail. The last option over here is 126840, bureau number 126840, part of VMC-1 based in Phoang Air Base in Korea in 52-53. So Korean War aircraft. It's got RM and 24 on the cowling, but everything else is the same as the other one. Lots of decals, lots of stencils and everything included, which is really nice to see. And I'm assuming the stencils are very similar between the two, between the American and the British aircraft, but time will tell on that. Get that tucked up. Looking at the decal sheet, again, it's this large size. It's the same size for the most part as the instructions, which is why I think there's some kind of a... The Tallery really likes these long pieces of paper. Anyways, decals are really nice. Not printed by any real special company per se, but they are really nice. You've got seatbelt decals. They're the instrument panel decals. Not the biggest fan of the instrument panel decals. They're a little baby, cartoonish, but you're not going to see much behind it. If you're going to make it an open canopy, I'd definitely recommend doing an aftermarket cockpit. But if you're going to close it up, then it is what it is. You've also got the fuel tank decals, which you see back over here, 1 and 2 on the decals. There's also these decal 29, which goes on either side of the radar pod. And I'm surprised they don't have them singled out from everything else. I don't even see decal. You guys are probably sitting there at your computer screaming at me right now because you can see decal 29 and I can't. But anyways, they're there somewhere. Either way, instrument panel, seatbelts, fuel tanks. These are your common stencils for everything, which is why I think there's 29 right there, hiding over here. It's interesting that they show that 29 decal in the section when you install it and not on the actual decal placement guides. But these are your American roundels. As I said, there's no blue outline. It's just the white and red. Your blue comes from the plane. Your British roundels here. I know these are the cutouts around the door for emergency exits. You've got other cutouts around the cockpit, I believe. Let's see, 32. I'm just curious to actually see where all of these decals fall. How much do you want to bet that those emergency cutout decals only exist on the British versions? Yeah. So yeah, 32 and 33 cutouts around the canopy, cutouts around the fuselage doors, tail hook, markings, propeller markings, walkways, everything you need to basically finish it off. And then you got your specific to each airframe here: Scheme D, Scheme C, Scheme B, and Scheme A. You'll see that the red and the yellow and black stripes come as a decal. So I'm a little leery on that. If it doesn't work right trying to match colors, it'd be interesting to just paint those instead of decaling them. But it'd be one of those. We'll just have to wait and see how they go down. Worst case scenario, if I don't like them, I'll try those first, and if for any reason they don't work, I can strip them down and go with a different option. I can go with American, I can go with anything I want, but yeah, I'd like to do these ones just because of how cool it is. Decals are highly, highly glossy, so it definitely take a bit of work to get them to flatten down, and there's quite a bit of, see things like over here, there's these white stripes on the tail, and they're one solid decal with tons of carrier film. So I'd be very worried about how that carrier film fits on, especially on a flat paint. So you'd really want to paint a gloss, decal it, then flat coat it after the fact. So little leery on the decals, but time will tell once you actually put that together. So that was a bit longer than I would have liked, honestly, for a monthly update look at this, but I will do a full review of this kit when I get ready to build it, so you guys can go through and see some more detail on that. So anyways, let's keep on moving on the video, and let's move on to the next one. And finally, before we hop into the status of the kit, so we'll take a look at the last of the new products I got, and they are 2 sets of decals. Both from CanMilAir. And if you guys weren't aware, CanMilAir still exists as a business. Bill Byrne still runs it, but he's out of the decal business. He focuses mostly on vinyl and stuff like that, and RCAF history and whatnot. The actual decal business side of it has been sold to Above and Below Graphics. Excuse me. It was sold to Above and Below Graphics. He still sells them. You can go to the website. I'll put a link down below. Hopefully remember to put a link down below. But you can go to the website there, take a look at what he has. You can order from them. Yeah, so all of CanMilAir sets are over there, and he's also got some of his own sets that he's been working on, and he's still producing new stuff. So this set here is for the 124 scale Hurricane that you would have seen in last month's update. I'm building it for one of the pilots at Vintage Wings, so I needed a set of Willie McKnights. Now, it was a little hard to find because it was listed as Hawker Hurricane Batter McKnight, not. Anyways, I reached out to, I looked, didn't see it, reached out to him, and he's like, oh yeah, I have it, it's right here. And I'm like, oh, okay, so here we are. So the set itself has quite a bit of information. There's a huge write-up on Douglas Batter in general, and then there's a little bit written up on Willie McKnight. Specifically, I'm doing the Willie McKnight scheme as it is the aircraft flown by Vintage Wings of Canada, which is, I'm building it for one of the pilots. So it includes the write-ups for both Douglas Batter and Willie McKnight. And then it includes the layout of the camo pattern, which was pretty, it's actually a reverse. LED and LEA have reverse patterns on them from each other, but the camo pattern is still basically there. So sorry, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, anyways, 2 separate color schemes between the two of them, so you'll kind of have to do a little bit of research when you're doing it to get the right scheme. Pretty sure this upper scheme lines up with the LEA scheme and not the Douglas Batter LED scheme. But anyways, you get a good layout of the colors. Gives you the breakdown for the colors here. It's also a little bit different than what CanMileAir used to be. Bill used to use the Alps
printer, which printed in wax. Above and below now uses a laser printer, and it uses a special laser printer that can print white toner. So the decals actually come out looking significantly better than they did when it was an Alps printer. There isn't as much streaking in it, and the colors tend to be a lot more I can't think of the word. Depth. There's more color depth, I guess. Gradient. There isn't as much fading in the color. The color is very consistent throughout the decal, which is a nice thing. So you get your roundels, standard roundels, and you get your specifics, your tail flashes, and you get your LE for the Squadron 242 Squadron, and you get your D for Douglas Bader, and you get your A for William McKnight. You also get the skeleton for William McKnight and the boot with Hitler's ass, which is the Squadron one. So put it all together, it's gonna make a really, really cool one, and I'll be doing some specifics to make it look to match up with the Vintage Wings aircraft. But that one is really nice. I really, really like the quality of these. When I actually go to do the application of the decals, I'll make a point of commenting on how well they lay. It's printed in the same sense as the old ones, where it's a continuous decal film, and it's best to put something over. I'm probably going to use the Micromark decal settings, or the decal solution. So cover it in that, and then use the decal and try to make sure it doesn't crinkle or run. But I'll have a little bit of a talk about when I actually go to use the decals, how nice they use them. So while I was ordering that set, which I knew I needed to order, if I could amortize out my shipping costs and get something else I needed, it makes sense. And the only thing I could think of that I needed off the top of my head was a set for the B25. This is for the late model B25. I did an earlier B25, which was based off of the D model, and I had decals for that in the early scheme. This is the later scheme, which has the lightning bolt with the white top and the silver bottom. I'm going to do an Alclad when I finally do it, and it's got the gun nose. The other one has the glass nose. This particular one was designed for the kit, the aircraft that had the gun nose. So same thing, nicely printed decals here. It's got the lightning bolt and all the pieces you need to complete it. The only thing I'm not a fan of with this is, as you can clearly see so you can see the set was designed based off of the aircraft that's on display in Winnipeg. But it doesn't include the piece on the cowl. You can see here, this one doesn't have the cowl. This one doesn't have it. But this particular picture shows the little stripe on the cowl, as does this aircraft here. And I really like that look. The DC-3s had the same thing. So I'm gonna have to try to find a way to get just that decal and see if any kits have that for the 1/48 scale cowling, and see if I can make it work on this, or I'm just gonna have to paint it, do my best at masking and try to paint it. We'll see how that goes. But other than that, it's got everything you need here. It's got the roundels, the nice big chunks of the stripe, so you can cut it and make it fit the way you want. Gives you a little bit of play with it. You've also got the white outlines if you choose to use that for the Royal Canadian Air Force titles. And then it's also got the little piece of the tail, the way that it rounds off and finishes off at the horizontal stab. That's a nice little touch, so you're not messing around trying to make that work. So really good set of decals. Lots of nice pictures showing exactly how the lightning bolt comes up and touches the canopy frame. You can make it work. You can cut it apart and adjust the sizes as you need to make it fit. It doesn't have all the stencils. You're going to have to use some of the ones from the kit. Specifically, some of these along the tail section aren't included. I could always look at printing some of those off myself, but we'll have to see when I get to that if it's worth going down that road or not. But gives you lots of options here. Really excited to get building one of these when I finally do. Really like the look of these late use RCF B-25s. RCF was one of the last Air Forces to fly the B-25, so that's always nice. 1961 is when we finally retired the B25. So it's nice to get some late war or late use version. I keep saying late war, late use versions of the B25. So anyways, that wraps it up. You've seen the A1, you've seen the 2 sets of decals. At this point, let's roll over and we'll take a look at the status of the kits. So here we are at the desk, going to take a look at the status of the 4 kits. I'm gonna clean the desk. By the way, if I haven't shown it yet, pick up one of these things off Amazon. They're like $10, $20, little vacuums. They pick up tons of stuff off the desks, and they are a handy little thing to have. They're a handy little thing to have kicking around, especially when you get all those little bits of plastic and stuff and you don't want to be wiped. Anyways, they're worth it. Look for them on Amazon. I don't remember even what this is. It's some knockoff Chinese company, but super easy. USB, micro USB charger. So it's super, super easy to use. Anyways, kits. We'll start with the F82B. The way I'll go B, I'll go G, I'll go Mosquito, and then I'll go Lincoln. So the B model, I have no idea where I left off last month. So yeah, I might be repeating myself on some of these things. Also, I have a bit of a head cold, so apologies. Excuse me, apologies for the voice. So moving on to the B, F82B. Fuselages are glued together. I got putty done. First coat of putty is down, and a first quick. These things do not like to sit level, so I've been using this little handy stand. They sit quite nicely there. So first coat of putty is on. It's just a rough application to clean it up. I still have a lot of fine sanding to do in here and here, and the tails need to be cleaned up quite a bit, and around the tail wheel door needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I haven't even put anything here. It's starting to look good. I cleaned up inside the little intake at the front. Like I said, it still needs a pretty good final sanding and one more pass with some putty and sandpaper to clean up all of the little edges, and I'll probably do that after I glue the tops of the tails on. I'll get that cleaned up, glued on, and then when I put the putty, and then once that's dry, I'll sand down that, and then I'll put another coat of putty on some of these little areas and do one more final sanding on that, get all of these seams to a point where I'm happy, and then I can look at starting to glue other things together. I still got to clean up inside the cockpit here, sand down around the instrument combing. This one I did, this one I didn't. Sand down around the instrument combing, get that painted black. It's still a bit of a mind bend having to work on 2 of these because it's 4 fuselages, but as we progress, things start to get a little bit easier to keep track of mentally where we are and what I need to do. Wings, lower wing. I got the wheel doors glued in place. They are a bit of a mess. This side here, I've already done some sanding and cleanup around this. There's the big and the small door, so the wheel door and the oleo door. I've done a little bit of cleanup on this side. This side I haven't yet, and I'll zoom in a bit. I'm not sure if you can see the difference between the two. So on this side here, I've done a little bit of cleanup on that seam. You can still see there's a bit of a bump. On this side, I've done nothing, and you can really see how that sticks out. These gears were not designed to be assembled, folded up, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of sanding on that, knock off a lot of corners. I'm probably gonna do a little bit of super glue to fill some of these holes, and we'll see. Not a lot, I just wanna put a little bit, especially in the seams, just to make sure that they don't pop. It's gear doors, so you're gonna see them. They're not gonna be perfect. Gear doors are never perfect fits. Especially in World War II, you could usually see quite a few gaps around them and whatnot. So I don't want to do super seam clean up and cover all the seams, but I just want to hide some of these atrocities. And I'll just put some super glue in some specific points, sand it all down, and then call it good. Move on to the next step. So that's that. Once I get that finished, I'll get that upper section glued in place, and then I can start looking. Hopefully by the time I get that done, I also have the fuselages with the tails and no more coat of sanding to go. And then I can just start gluing things together. Speaking of gluing things together, moving over to the G model, I actually have it somewhat assembled. Let me zoom out. I forgot I was zoomed in, so a lot of what you just saw was zoomed in, and I apologize. It's assembled, more or less. So I've got the center wing section glued together, and I've got the two fuselages glued to the center wing section. This is a big airplane, by the way. Like, it's deceivingly large. It'd be nice when it's finished to kind of get it sitting beside a regular Mustang. I've got so many Mustangs over there already. I got an A model, a B model, a D model. It's gonna be kind of cool to see the history. I've got an H model I haven't even started yet. It'd be kind of cool to see like the history of the P-51 as it evolved from the A to the C to the D to the H to the F-82. That'd be interesting at some point to do. But anyways, I've said it a bunch of times. I want to say it again. This kit is a potato. It is not easy to build. It has a lot of issues. Its fit is atrocious. It takes quite a bit of effort to make it look good. And it's one of the reasons why it's been taking me a longer time to build these than it should have, is because I'm constantly fighting it, trying to get it to look good. It's a little hard to see already because I filled it with some super glue, but there were massive gaps all through the seams in here. This side, there's a massive step. I filled it with super glue and I just did it with a bit of a baking powder just to get it to harden. And then I'll sand that smooth, and that's going to knock off the worst of that lip. This side's great. This side fits really well. This side had a massive lip, and I don't know why they're so bad. I'm also pretty sure the fuselages aren't square. I have a distinct feeling that this fuselage is kicked out a little bit. But, and again, I don't know why or how. I can't really twist them back, so I don't know what's going on. But just for a quick, if I center it, if I put it on the inside on that, you're looking at, let's go to centimeters because it's easier to work with centimeters. Oh, look at that, you're pretty much bang on 9. And if I go to the top, well, you know what, it's not off by much, to be perfectly honest. The bottom, I'm bang on 9. At the top, so 90 millimeters in the bottom and 91 at the top. So I've got 1 mil of washout across the top. There's also a taper involved in that, so it's actually not that bad. I might be able to fix most of it when I clamp the tail together. It'll be hold it in. But anyways, it visually looks like the fuselages aren't square. But there's not much I can do. So next step on this one, I got to sand all these seams under here. I want to get all of these seams in through here all cleaned up. I want to make it look good. I want to get the canopies done. As you see here, I filled in across the coaming. There's a little bit of left in here, some gapping. I want to fill that with some white glue and then paint it black again, dry brush that, and then I want to get the canopies in place. I want to get them on, get them masked, get this tail glued on, and then once I'm happy with all of that, I want to hit this with a coat of primer. I don't want to be working on this with the whole wings on it. I want to work on this fuselage as a separate unit. So I want to get the canopies on, get a hit with some primer, and then I can work on seams and make sure all of this looks good. And then once it looks good, I can get the outer wing panels assembled and on, and then it's easy to do the final seam. All I have really to worry about is this one seam here, and the rest of it will be done, and then I can just hit it with paint and move on to the next step. So it's coming along, it's looking good. I can, and again, because I'm working on the two of them, I'm learning the lessons on this one that I can apply on that one, which is kind of backwards because this is the one that I want to look the best. But anyways, I just started to get farther ahead on this one. But yeah, it's a good lesson learned. Don't build this. It's not easy. I am not happy with it, but anyways, it is what it is. Moving on to the Mosquito. It's coming along as well. Again, the wings are just on there for show and space savings, but that is an assembled kit as you see it. I have the fuselage, excuse me. Apologies for that. Yeah, this is all assembled with the fuselage together, cockpit's all put together. The gun area is all done. I got a bit of cleanup left to do. You can probably see I've done a bit of sanding in here. There's some minor gapping in here. I'm going to fill that mostly with Mr. Surfacer and clean all that up. Same with this piece here along the front. I still have to sand the edges on this a little bit, but I want to hit all these edges with Mr. Surfacer. Clean all that up. Same along this nose here. I'm not going to putty as much on this one. It's really good. There's some minor issues, and I think Mr. Surfacer is the better option on this, so I don't sand away the details. And I just got to clean up back here a little bit. I probably will have to do a bit of putty here. There's a pretty good lip. We'll see. But we're moving along. This is coming pretty good. Like I said, the nose section I'm not going to glue on. It's going to stay just like that. I want to do some more detail work in here, but I'll have it so that you can have it sitting like this, or you can pull this off and have it sitting beside the nose section. You can see the guns. So that's kind of where I am. Wings are, I think, exactly where they were last time, really. I got to get the nacelles built up and glued on, and then I can start getting these wings put together. But I don't want to put the wings on until I get the fuselage cleaned up and then get the canopy on and get it masked. It's really easy to work on this as just a straight fuselage. And then I'll get the wing glued on, clean up all the seams on the wings, and move on to the next steps from there. Luckily, it's just black. It'll be really easy to paint. I'm going to paint at the same time I paint the F82G, because it's also going to be painted black, so the weathering will be very similar between the two. Yeah, so that is coming along. Lincoln, just some minor work on the Lincoln. The big thing is I masked the canopy, and I got it painted black. Same with the nose section. And then from there, I could see where some of the issues were with seams, and I went through and just added a little bit more putty in some very strategic areas. Same on the back here. Just a couple of small areas that needed a little bit more work. The rear fuselage was worse. I hadn't put as much effort into it as I did in the front, but this just needs a little bit of, probably one more coat of sanding and on this little section of fuselage, and then it'll be done, and then I can actually join this together as one and get that seam filled and cleaned, and then the fuselage will be a solid piece. I haven't touched the wings at all. Like I said, I don't suspect I'll get this Lincoln done in this round. I'll probably have the other 3 kits finished, and this will still be poked on, and I'll probably continue working on it when I do the next 3 kits. But I'd like to, at least as soon as possible, get this fuselage joined together, get that seam cleaned, and then I can at least start scribing the fuselage. If I can get that done, you know, that's a big step. Yeah, it's a big plane. Anyways, that's that. So that's where I am with that. It's a lot of puttying and sanding and puttying and sanding, and I don't like working on it. I haven't done as much on the kits because of that. I'm kind of in a putty sanding funk. That's why I've been focusing on one of these instead of 2, because I can get one to, I'm like, oh, it's just so exciting, look what it looks like, and then I want to get the other one to it, and so I can jump to the next one, and it drives me to get that other one done. Otherwise, I would run out of steam on these pretty quickly. But so that pretty much wraps up the status on that. Channel-wise, I'm still plugging along, putting out some more airshow content. I'm going through and pulling out specific acts from both Michigan, London, and Gatineau, and I'll be putting specific acts together as separate standalone videos. I've done a couple of more built model series. I believe I've got the T-33 and the Otter coming out in the next little bit. As well as usual, the RCAF history videos are coming through. The next one comes out on the 15th. And I've got scripts written right through till about 430 Squadron. So I believe it's 426 that comes out this month. And then, like I said, I've got the scripts written up to 430. So I got to start putting those together and recording and editing all those. And then we'll see. I'd like to get back out to the Aviation Museum. They've done a bit of a reorganization of the museum, so it'll be interesting to get out and take a look at that. Maybe film some more content. On that note, let me know if there's anything you want to see at the Aviation Museum, any specific aircraft that you'd like to see in detail. Let me know, and I can go out and I get the video, and I'll do a quick short video on whatever you'd like to see out there. So let me know if there's anything down below in the comments, anything that you would like to see out there at the Aviation Museum. By all means, let me know. Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up for this month. So again, stay tuned for some more content coming out as the month goes on, and come back in a month and we'll get another wrap up and see where we got to these kits in a month. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you all next time.